several, and we're talking probably 5 years ago, I made some dehydrated coleslaw and canned it, and it came out really good. When you rehydrated it, it was still crispy. And for the life of me, I have looked online and I cannot find that recipe, so I'm going to do a freeze-dried coleslaw using the same principle that I did in that one. I kind of remember how it went, and I looked up a Freezer Slaw recipe online, and I'll include the link to that in the description below. And we're going to follow that and make up some freeze-dried coleslaw. I've tried this in a small batch and it does come out crispy, so I figured I'd make a nice video of it. So the first thing it calls for is 1 large head of cabbage, and I'm lazy, so what I did is I went to Hy-Vee, to the store, and took a large head of cabbage and weighed it, and it was about 4 pounds. And then I went and bought 4 pounds of shredded cabbage with the carrots and everything, coleslaw mix. So that's what we're going to use, 4 pounds of coleslaw mix. Now, on the recipe that I'm going to post, it says just to put 1 teaspoon of salt, but I bought this canning salt for the sole purpose of that dehydrated coleslaw that I made many years ago. So I'm going to use the canning salt because that recipe did call for canning salt. And I'm going to put probably a little bit more than 1 teaspoon. Just going to sprinkle that over all that and give that a really good mix. Now it says to set that aside for an hour, so we're going to set that aside for an hour and make up our dressing. Okay, so to make the sauce, the recipe calls for 1 cup of white vinegar, a half a cup of water, 2 cups of sugar, 1 teaspoon of celery seeds, and I like a lot of celery seeds, so I'm going to 1.5 probably. And 1 teaspoon of mustard seeds. And again, I'm going to go probably about 1.5. Now, we need to bring that up to a boil and boil it for a minute, basically till the sugar's dissolved. So that's what we're going to do. The recipe says definitely to let it boil for a minute, so I'll bring it to a boil, then let that boil for a minute. Okay, so that started to boil. I set my timer for a minute just so I don't mess it up. We're going to boil this for a minute. Okay, so it's been a minute, so we're going to turn the heat off. Now we got to let that cool down to room temperature. So we'll see you when that's cooled down. Okay, so as you can see, this cabbage sat for an hour, probably a little bit longer than an hour, and it reduced down quite a bit. But my dressing has cooled down, so we're going to mix that in. And give that a good mix. Okay, so what I thought I'd use is do individual servings. So I got these molds off of Amazon. I'll put a link below. And they are the perfect size for a pint-sized mason jar. So what I'm going to do is fill each part of this mold with coleslaw. Oh, and my freezer, I don't have a lot of space in my freezer. So what I did was I took these molds, that's a full mold when you buy it, and I carefully cut them in half so that I had smaller molds. I just took some scissors and cut those in half, and it wasn't no problem. So I'm going to fill each one of these and freeze them solid. Okay, so there's one tray. I'll go ahead and do the rest. I'm going to stick these in the freezer until they're frozen solid, and then we'll put them in the freeze dryer. I'll see you when I'm ready to try them up. Okay, so these coleslaw discs have been in the freezer for a while and they're frozen solid. So I'm going to tray them up. Actually, they're not frozen solid, but they're frozen solid enough for me to get them out of the mold, so that's good. Okay, so what are we getting up with there? That's about a pound. That's 1.26 pounds. So that's all I'm going to put on there. And what that should do is give me enough to fill my freeze dryer with these and just do the coleslaw. Okay, here we go. This is my freeze dried coleslaw, and I've done them in discs. I'm just going to drop them in my mason jars. Single servings. Looks like I'm going to get about 4 discs, maybe, if I got room for an oxygen absorber in there. Just got a shipment of my another order of my oxygen absorbers in. I love how these come, because they come in packs of 10. Yeah, that's still sealed. I was worried by cutting that I'm going to open that seal. I don't want to do that. But they're still sealed. So, I'm going to go ahead and fill these jars before I open those up. Some of that sugar in the coleslaw looks like it bubbled up a little bit. Not a lot though. I don't think I'm getting that on camera. Here. just fit perfectly in these jars. Alright. These are 100 cc's. Looks like they put 5 in a pack. Last time it was 10. And they didn't put a little indicator in there, which I'm kind of disappointed in. But I'm going to get these lids put on these and vacuum sealed, and I'll see you when we're ready to do a taste test. Okay, here's the test. The proof in the pudding. So I got 2 discs in there, and I got a cup of water here, cold water, and I'm just going to pour some over that for now. Okay, breaking down. And we're going to let that sit for a couple minutes. Plenty of water in there, it looks like. Make sure everything's got a little bit of moisture on it. Okay, we'll let that sit for a minute or two. Let's see what happens. Okay, that's been exactly 2 minutes. And I used 2 of those discs, and I used a half a cup of cold water, so I'd be a quarter of a cup per disc. Let's see. It's stirring kind of nice. There is water in the bottom, but you'd expect that with a salad. Let's see what it tastes like. That's what's important. I just put the mic up by my mouth. I'm going to do that again. I know people don't like to hear eating, but I want you to hear the crunch in this. That's pretty good. I think I put too much water on there because last time I made it, that dressing was a little bit stronger. But nothing would be stopping you from here at this point draining that water off and putting in your mayonnaise. That's pretty good. I'm going to call that a success. Maybe put less water in there because the dressing I know has a good flavor to it, and it seems to have watered down a bit, so I don't got that strong celery seed, sugary, vinegary flavor to it. But for frozen cabbage, there's plenty of crispiness to it. It's not exactly like your the crispiness of freshly shredded cabbage, don't get me wrong, but I think I demonstrated you can hear the crunch, so there's at least enough crunch in that, crispiness in that to make a crunch. That's good. And again, in a emergency situation, there's no food around, it'd be nice to have a fresh salad. I'm going to give that a thumbs up. I'll post the recipe down below, but really you can go online. They're all about the same. And try any of the, what do they call that? Freezer Slaw. Freezer Coleslaw. If you search Freezer Coleslaw or Freezer Slaw, you'll come up with the same recipes. Little variations to them here and there. And that's what it was designed for. It was designed to be frozen and then thawed out when you want it and eaten. We just added one step of dehydrating it after it was frozen. Good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. It kind of helps me out in the algorithms, because right now my videos ain't showing up. If I do a search for freeze-dried or something, you know, unless I put the exact title of one of my videos, my stuff's getting buried, and that's because nobody's putting thumbs ups, and I really need those. So I hate pandering, hate begging, but if you don't mind, just throw a thumbs up, and if you don't like it, didn't like the video, do a thumbs down. That helps too. They don't look at the amount of ups and downs, they look at the amount of interactions. So that would help me too. So let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.